Rich Brian, formerly known as Rich Chigga, had to change his name, I think, because it was offensive or something. I guess I see why. I do kind of wish there was that less of a push to change names though, like Viet Cong and Andrew Jackson Jihad. Like I think we should just allow this punkness in music where people have edgy names, it's not that bad. But anyway, Rich Brian is a very young rapper who has made a massive name for himself through YouTube, and some of his music videos have like millions upon millions of views. And the guy is like 17. 17. And he has a future ahead of him. I'm like 22 and I've not made a name for myself at all. In all seriousness, though, I do believe that Rich Brian is one of the younger rappers around right now that has a bit more to him than some of the other ones, I believe. I like that on most of his biggest songs, he's not just jumping on stale generic trap beats that sound like they could have come from a Lil Pump album or an XXX album. I do believe that he has a bit more flair to him, a bit more of an edge, which is probably why he's standing out and becoming so popular online. And his debut album, Amen, is alright. I've listened to it quite a few times by now. At first I thought it was really good, but it has kind of wore off on me. I do believe some of the tracks on this album don't have really much to them, and I will explain why, but I think overall, as a debut album, this is actually really quite good. On the intro track, he just comes straight in. Like, there is just no time to have, like, any kind of introduction to the guy. He's just straight spitting, and I like his flow on this track. The way he's just spitting across the whole track, and he doesn't really slow down. There isn't any time for like a hook or a refrain. He is just constantly spitting. It's kind of like a freestyle in a way. Even though when you read into the lyrics, you do realize he actually doesn't have a lot to say, and there's not really any bars that stand out as anything exciting. But the way he sounds and the way the beat is like quite menacing as well. It's a really cool intro to the album. Doesn't set the tone at all though, honestly. This isn't how the album sounds for the rest of the album. Cold is another track with a bit of a darker beat. This has come straight after it. I think this one is a better version of the intro track though. I do like the way the sound of the track Cold sounds. But then after that, we don't really carry on with this like ominous dark tone that those two tracks have. But the issue with those two tracks is actually it displays again that he actually doesn't really have much to say lyrically. Like, he's not really coming out with any bars that you're like, oh, oh. He just makes way too many references to his dick. Like, he's talking about like his dick so much. Like, you listen to those first few tracks and read along with the lyrics. Like, he must make over a dozen references to his dick on the first two tracks alone. Like, it's a bit ridiculous, and I get it. He's a young guy, he's rich, he probably does get a lot of girls, there's no denying that, but just lyrically it's not something you want to hear, and it's not like he's that clever with it either. He just makes really immature lines. So it's just kind of like, yeah, I can still see why this guy is young. It's clear that this guy is still only young. We do get some more trap influenced beats on tracks like Occupied, and then the track with Offset as a feature. Offset doesn't really make much of an impact honestly on that track, but it is the trap beat that really gets me. I think it's just a very like it's not like like a Lil Uzi Vert type trap beat. It's not a Future type trap beat. It just has something to it that I think makes it sound quite different. But if you listen to Attention with Offset and then listen to Occupied like right after it, you'll realize that the beats are very similar. Like, they're cool beats. I like them. They have a really nice tone to them. But they are basically the same beat. It's a bit of a shame really that there's not too much of a difference there. Like, I'm not a fan of Joji at all. I wouldn't really say his EP left any sort of impact on me. But on this track, I think he sounds great. And Rich Trigger on this track is really... No, Rich Brian. Rich Brian. Rich Brian on this track is really good. And I just love the beat. I just think it's got such like a melodic tone to it. I think this style actually works way better for Rich Brian than the darker tones to them. Only because he kind of just jumps on the same sort of sounding beats, but then he comes on a track like this, which is different, and I think I prefer it. And the track Kitty I really like as well. The beat on this track is fucking great. It's like bum 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 bum. It is so good, like, oh man, and Rich Brian on this track sounds stellar. Like, this is the kind of stuff that I like to hear. It's just like continuously going at it. Again, though, lyrically, it's pretty weak. I mean, he just makes references to like bitches and not texting back and stuff like that. And it's quite clear that Kitty is probably like a metaphor for like pussy. And it's, again, he's a young guy. He's not really coming out with many lyrical bars that stand out and like make you go, wow, that's really cool. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's just your standard shit, really. He just ends up making himself sound more like a fuckboy than it is necessary, which I think will come with time. Like, I think eventually he'll get away from all this and start writing really good lyrics, because he's still so young and he has a really good knack for melody and refrains. There's a decent feature on the closing track who does this like R&B chorus, which again goes over quite well. I don't mind it too much. Maybe if he did more of that again in the future, I think could work. He could probably do with some more impactful features though. Like I said, Offset isn't really anything on the track he's on. And then there's a female rapper called Nikki. Not really that bothered about her either. It's not really anything special on that track. Maybe if he just started getting with really good rappers on his tracks, he could probably learn from them and they could probably add some kind of uniqueness to the tracks too. But overall, this is pretty good. I've definitely got like 3 or 4 tracks from this album that I will probably keep coming back to because they're that good. But it's just a shame that so many tracks just kind of fly by and don't leave any sort of print. He's just kind of not really at that point yet, but again, he's so young and he's so like talented already. I think there's so much here to like. Just think of that Jaden Smith album Sire, except without the grand and glamorous production, which actually helped Jaden Smith a lot. But Jaden Smith was on the album like spitting so many ridiculous lines, and it was just like, you're ruining it like just by sounding like an idiot. But whereas Rich Brian isn't quite as idiotic, so like think of that and see that maybe in the future, you know, Rich Brian could actually elevate up and start saying a lot of great stuff on his music. So yeah, a lot of promise for the guy. He's certainly not there yet. It's a decent album. I'm going to say a C. I do like this album. It's pretty good. And let me know what you think of this album, right? This guy's got a huge fan base, so I'm wondering what people think of this debut album. And yeah, tell me what I should review next. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. And that is it. Have a good day.